Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and we're back with another review video. And I've tried Yukong for 24 hours thereabouts. I didn't play the CBT3 to test her out. I already fell in love with this character. In my opinion, this character has taken my first spot, my favorite character, away from Esta in the Harmony buffing category. A lot of you know that I like to play Esta, but after trying Yukong out, I definitely do think that she's a lot nicer to play. But let's take a look at some action, shall we? And we can also see what makes this character so strong. Yukong is really such a tremendously strong unit because she's able to buff the entire team. For example, I can just use these roaring bowstrings on them, buff their attack by a tremendous amount, which means I increase like characters healing. For example, like Lota, Zealer's turn order also doesn't really eat up these stacks, especially if she gets that resurgence, which I hopefully can show in a little bit. Just tons of value, and you can see even a 4-star island, I having a level 70, not even fully well built, can do quite a lot of damage as well. Ultimate abilities don't eat up the stack, which means that you can time your burst correctly to do tons of damage as well. As you can see, even though Zealer's turn ended, she still has that one stack open, which means that there's a lot of flexibility for higher level play where you can squeeze in the ultimate ability to get you to use this stack just in time before it expires as well. And that aside, she also has tremendous amounts of damage on her own. I have her at E6, so she does get back one refund when she uses her ultimate. I'll just show you some damage numbers here. This is absolutely ridiculous. I don't have even that much buffs on her right now. Like no food buffs, no nothing here. So you can see that it's just plainly her own self buffing herself. Very strong. This is from her Eidolons, of course, because I have her currently at high Eidolons. I'm not even using an offensive light cone, I'm using dance. And you can just switch this around to like either buff your team for damage, buff your team for speed up, or energy restoration wherever you require to. Tremendous amounts of value. This character is extremely fun to play. Especially if you are a higher skilled character or a high skilled player rather. You like to speed tune your characters, you like to adjust, and you want a bit more complexity in your roster to get the most value out of these characters. I think this character is just tons of fun to play, super good, and probably is my favorite character right now because of the mix of complexity, utility she brings, and also because she's able to fit into a lot of team comps. Okay, so that now we'll be seeing like a quick showcase, and I did like a quick commentary on her plus points. I don't want to just talk about all the plus points, let's talk a bit about like the negatives also, because we want to balance out the negatives. Where do I think she's a bit lacking? I think that without Eidolons, she definitely is a lot less useful than with Eidolons, because this ultimate ability is a pretty big game changer, because even when she has nothing available, you can immediately use her ultimate. That ultimate gets this roaring bowstring buff, and also you have one charge to go on to the next character, meaning that if you increase her ultimate uptime, you might even have 100% uptime on roaring bowstrings for all characters that you have, as long as they take each one turn equally as well. Other than that, good amounts of damage, 30% buff, and of course you have a bit more energy sustain too, and increased speed, but this is not very useful outside of like very quick PvE content in the open world kind of thing. So I think that's my downside. A little bit reliant if you want to build her for DPS on her Eidolons, and her utility of course improves with more Eidolons, especially E6. I think is a huge game changer in the way she's played, just much more flexible rather than relying on only her turn order to grant roaring bowstrings. She is probably not as good as an attack buffer, reliable as a hyper carry buffer like Tingyun. But she definitely is still a very strong buffer because of her ability to buff characters like Zealer right now, who is able to make use of her resurgence, her auto attacking when she defeats targets, her ultimate ability, which gives her many turns actually, is able to work very nicely with Yukong. Synergizes very well. So in my opinion, I would say that right now with her release, she does edge out over Tingyun in Zealer teams. I also do prefer her to play her compared to characters like Bronya, who was more like a hyper carry one kind of character, because she does buff more than one unit, as we see if we have an Ireland as well as Zealer. As long as they both get the roaring bowstring, they both do equally quite a lot of damage. And my Ireland here is not even super well built, like level 70 character only. I do think that Yukong is a very, very interesting character. Overall, those are like some downsides, not much downsides in totality, really. Imaginary character does good amounts of imaginary break, meaning that she also has a chance to slow enemies, push back enemies, because that's the imaginary break effect. On top of that, you do good amounts of burst damage, as you saw from her ultimate ability, 20%, 20k damage with hardly any crit damage being built. I only have her at like mid-rate gear, not really end-game gear also. Talents, of course, like 6, 10, 10, 10, with most of the stuff unlocked already, but still 20k coming from a support is very, very attractive, especially since this is a harmony support that's buffing your whole team for like 70% attack, I think, 80% attack buffs from a roaring bowstring, not to mention like these additional massive amounts of crit rate, crit damage buff on the side as well. I think she's tons of utility, very, very strong. I'll rate her as probably the highest tier that I have, probably like S or double S depending on the tier list when I release. In my opinion, she has risen the ranks to probably be my favorite Harmony character. Might not be as 100% buffing like Bronya or Tingyun, but she does do a lot of damage from the side, and especially with team comps that are more oriented towards offense, like team comps with LyouRika, who generally want to do more damage because he's not a super defensive sustained character as well. I think you will see tons of value, and when content gets tougher, you want more characters dealing damage, the damage distribution from your whole team. This is where Yukong really comes in huge handy. That's my thoughts on Yukong. If you appreciate such reviews, such biased reviews as well, maybe you want to hear more of my biased thoughts rather than objective reports and analysis, do like and subscribe for more of such future content. Leave me a comment below what you hope to see and what you liked about this video too, so I'll keep it in future formats as well. And if you want to see more Yukong content, do check out these two other videos right here. And I've also done a video on LyouRika too, so take a look. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.